All right, welcome back to another explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're about to take a wild, fast-paced dive into a story that literally flips everything you know completely on its head. We're talking about an epic, mind-bending cinematic recap where the fundamental rules of society are entirely turned upside down. So buckle up, this journey is packed with heavy action, massive psychological twists, and honestly just a lot of sheer absurdity. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so picture this. You're just a totally normal guy. You go to sleep after a long day of work, but when you open your eyes, you are definitely not on Earth anymore. You've somehow landed in a world where women are the ones aggressively pursuing men. Men are expected to be submissive, quiet, and perfectly manicured. And you, our main guy, Zhang Hao, have to somehow navigate this absolute madness. Just to survive, you literally have to prove you're an alpha male in a society that actively punishes you for it. To really grasp the shock to his system, we have to start right at the beginning of his chronological journey to see exactly what he woke up to on day 1.
Section 1. Waking Up in a Matriarchy.
Back on old Earth, Zhang Hao was just an average guy, but in this new reverse world, history is entirely swapped. Women lead the empires. And this is absolutely crucial. Women are biologically stronger here. They literally possess way more physical power and stamina. Men, on the other hand, are expected to stay home, wear cute flirty clothes, do their makeup, and basically just be taken care of. I mean, Zhang Hao literally wakes up to his own father scolding him for having dry skin and telling him to get some makeup tips from a friend.
But right when you think this culture shock is enough, things take a massive supernatural turn. Under this crazy, ominous red moon, the entity actually responsible for all this chaos appears. She's known as the goddess of the red moon, and she drops a brutal ultimatum. You see, because Zhang Hao used to rant about being a real man in his past life, she's testing him. He has to flip the script. He has to become a true masculine alpha in this bizarre matriarchy. If he does, he might actually get to go home. But if he fails, his mind and soul will completely assimilate. He'll permanently become the submissive pretty boy host he's currently trapped inside. Faced with losing his entire identity, Zhang Hao says no way. He refuses to roll over and decides to take total control of his destiny.
Which brings us to Section 2.
The Path of the Chad.
So, Zhang Hao creates this mental Sigma survival blueprint to reclaim his masculinity, and it is honestly so funny to watch him execute this. First, he signs up for Muay Thai classes because his new body is shockingly weak. In the cafeteria, while all the other guys are delicately picking at these tiny little salads, he's ordering massive portions of steak and pork just trying to build muscle. He marches into a salon, demands they chop off his styled hair, which hilariously just makes him look even cuter to the women in this world. And in a stroke of genius, he starts streaming League of Legends. Since men in this world supposedly only play simple little puzzle games, his aggressive PvP skills accidentally turn him into a massive, highly sought-after internet esports celebrity.
But, when you project that kind of defiant, Chad energy in a world where men are expected to be docile, you're going to attract some very dangerous attention. This all builds up to this incredibly tense alleyway showdown. A pink-haired gang leader named Lu Sin decides she wants to claim this handsome, rebellious internet star for herself. She pulls a knife on him, fully expecting him to just cower in fear. But instead, Zhang Hao uses his new Muay Thai skills. He dodges her attacks and actually fights back, proving he absolutely refuses to be a victim. But street thugs are honestly the least of his worries. His aggressive confidence acts like a magnet, pulling us into the romantic and deeply psychological core of the story, where he accidentally attracts the ultimate and most dangerous harem.
All right, Section 3, 3 Dangerous Women. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is just how terrifying the unique threat level of each suitor actually is. First up, you have Wei Nan. She's the towering, ruthless CEO of the Fong Hong Group. Her threat level is super high because she is deeply obsessive and just completely used to total dominance. Then there's Yuga. She seems like this quiet, shy classmate, right? But actually, she's the fabulously wealthy granddaughter of a great general, and her idea of a casual, friendly hangout involves showing off her personal arsenal of firearms. And finally, there's Ken, his newly adopted stepsister. Her threat level is extreme. She's deeply possessive, highly manipulative, and as the story unfolds, we find out she's been pulling the strings in the background of his life for years.
Just to give you a taste of the sheer absurdity and tension he has to deal with, let's look at his dynamic with Wei Nan. At one point, she literally intercepts a gang that kidnapped him, beats them all effortlessly just to claim ownership of him, and then corners him with this wild ultimatum. She demands they start dating. And her test to see if he'll comply, she tells him, "Sit on my lap for 3 minutes without resisting." It just perfectly captures the completely upside-down power dynamics he navigates every single day. But right as we kind of settle into this quirky high school harem dynamic, the story takes a massive narrative shift.
Which leads us to Section 4, The Red Moon's Threat. Okay, this is where we leave the comedy behind and plunge straight into a dark, psychological thriller. Remember the goddess's threat from the beginning? Yeah, it's happening. We get introduced to this concept called soul assimilation. So Jung Hao isn't just dealing with aggressive women anymore. His very sanity is actively under attack. The memories of the body's original owner are literally starting to bleed into his brain, completely blurring the lines between who he was and who he's becoming.
Just think about that for a second. What actually happens when two totally distinct souls fight for dominance in a single mind? For Jang Hao, it means agonizing headaches, his physical body deteriorating, and these absolutely terrifying hallucinations. The goddess of the Red Moon is playing this cruel, twisted psychological game. She's trying to break his will and force him to surrender his original identity. And to push him completely over the edge, the goddess completely shatters the chronological timeline, which launches us into this epic, multiverse climax.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds. Journey across timelines.
So the goddess essentially forces his consciousness to rapidly jump across these alternate realities. One minute he wakes up married to Wei-nan, living this corporate life. Then suddenly he's ripped out of there and drops into a super gritty reality where he's a police officer helping Yua fight crime. After that, he's thrown all the way back in time to his own childhood to confront a deeply depressed young Kin. It's incredibly chaotic, but it all systematically builds to day 4, where he finds himself in a dark void, standing face to face with the goddess herself.
The goddess's goal here was simple: divide the two souls, conquer his mind through all this chaotic timeline jumping, and drive him completely mad so she could replace him. But Jang Hao comes up with this brilliant, totally unexpected solution. Instead of fighting the original host's soul, he just accepts him. He unites their memories, basically acknowledging that both sets of experiences are what make him who he is. By achieving this perfect union of both souls, he completely neutralizes the goddess's twisted game. He refuses to break. So, having defeated the goddess and locked down his sanity, Jang Hao finally wakes up back in the hospital in his main reality. Now it's time to resolve all that romantic tension with the 3 dangerous women who have been fighting over him this whole time.
And that brings us to Section 6, the ultimate harem ending.
So the crucial point here is the compromise. Jang Hao knows these women would literally destroy each other and probably him if they were forced to choose. So he suggests the unthinkable. They all just stay together. And shockingly, they forge this wild polyamorous agreement. They agree to no legal marriages so they can avoid a massive public scandal. Instead, all 4 of them agree to live together in total secrecy on this luxurious private island. And of course, being the ever-dominant CEO she is, Wei-nan negotiates one final demand: she gets the right to have the first child.
Which leads us to a hilarious cliffhanger. Fast forward a few years. While Jang Hao and the 3 women are off enjoying this extended honeymoon, a butler suddenly drops off a mysterious baby with mixed-color eyes at Jang Hao's parents' house. So his parents are just standing there, utterly confused, holding a grandchild they know absolutely nothing about. Meanwhile, off-screen, the powerful grandmothers of Wei-nan and Yua immediately start bickering over who the baby actually looks like. It is just the perfect, chaotic, comedic wrap-up to this insane journey.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. Jang Hao's journey from a terrified guy in a flipped world to this unified soul living on a private island is nothing short of cinematic. It leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. If you woke up tomorrow in a world that completely inverted every single rule of your reality, would you quietly assimilate just to survive? Or would you fight tooth and nail to flip the script? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this incredible story. Keep questioning your reality, and I'll catch you in the next one.